Next, we will see some interesting concepts about Azure. So Microsoft Azure was identified as the most used public cloud and one most likely to be purchased or renewed, according to a recent survey, the highest percentage for any public cloud provider. With results like this, there is no wonder that the number of business interested in Azure will continue to grow. If you're looking to learn more about Azure, including how your company could benefit from it and best utilize its service offerings, then you have to understand few concepts. So first, Azure is a cloud computing platform that can provide everything to a business to run all or part of its computing operations virtually, including servers, storage, database, networking, analytics, and many more. Traditionally, the only option available to companies was to build and manage the physical hardware needed for computing. But today, companies can use a public cloud computing platform like Azure, which purchases and maintains all the computing hardware. This means companies can effectively rent hardware resources as needed. So traditionally, the only option available to companies was to build and manage the physical hardware needed for computing, including servers, disk storage, and Ethernet switches. But today, companies can use a public cloud computing platform like Azure, which purchases and maintains all the computing hardware. This means companies can effectively rent hardware resources as needed. You can pick and choose among Azure's services to get the support needed for your business operations, namely building, deploying, and managing applications. And because you are renting the computing resources, you don't have the costs and inefficiencies associated with the physical hardware that naturally goes along with those activities. There are also numerous additional benefits beyond cost and efficiency. Many companies today are choosing to use some combination of cloud computing and on-premise data centers. Some are even utilizing multiple cloud computing services depending on their needs and requirements. So if you are connected or concerned about making a dramatic change in your computing environment, or feel like you're committing to a single service provider, don't worry. Instead, you will want to focus on determining the viability of cloud computing in relation to your company's needs. Often, designing some combination of the cloud with an existing on-premises setup is the best way to get the ball rolling. So who uses Azure? Business of all sizes find value in using the public cloud, and many of them are choosing Azure. In fact, Azure is used by 85% of Fortune 500 companies. Azure is also appealing to many small and medium-sized business. One reason for this is that it helps avoid huge capital outlays for equipment. It also removes the burden of upgrades and maintenance, as smaller organizations may not have in-house experts readily available to provide support. And because Azure makes it easy to add or remove computing resources in minutes as compared to hours, it provides increased flexibility that business simply would not have with the traditional on-premise data center. So where will the data be stored if you use the Azure? If you are doing cloud computing, your data is no longer stored on your own servers. So where is it stored exactly? So Microsoft manages the physical storage of data for Azure users, which means it will be stored in one or more of the Microsoft's 100 plus data centers around the globe. Microsoft managed data centers are currently located in 36 regions. You can typically specify the region where you would like your data to be stored. It's generally recommended that your data be stored close to where your users are located. The farther away your data is stored from your users, the more latency they will experience. To make sure your data is readily available, Azure will keep and manage multiple copies of your data by using the process called replication. You select how you want replication handled. For example, do you want two copies in the same location or multiple copies stored across multiple geographic locations? Because so many businesses are held to certain compliance standards with regard to their data, Azure provides a comprehensive set of compliance offerings like ITAR and GDPR. So what about security? So security is a priority for all major public cloud services, including Microsoft Azure. Microsoft in particular has been laser focused on this issue with the recent expansion of its Azure Security Center. Azure Security Center is a management tool that allows you to monitor your Azure resources for security vulnerabilities and threats. Using advanced analytics, it helps detect potentially malicious activity across your hybrid cloud workloads and recommends potential remedy steps. You can then evaluate these steps and take the necessary action. Security Center comes with the Microsoft Azure subscription and can be accessed from your main portal. However, that only a portion of Security Center is available for free, and while the free tier provides visibility into the security status of your cloud resources, it's fairly limited in other aspects. To get more advanced threat detection capabilities, you will need to upgrade to the paid standard tier. So ensure security and compliance for the Microsoft cloud without adding complexity to the process. So Azure also provides data encryption, which is the cryptographic encoding of data when it is persisted. This uses symmetric encryption to encrypt and decrypt large amounts of data quickly. As an IT professional responsible for providing security to the organization's data, you will likely want to investigate a number of alternate security options. Next, we will see some Microsoft Azure features. So once you know what Azure is and how it works, it is not hard to imagine why so many businesses use it. In my experience, there are several reasons why companies decide to make the move. Azure has so many features that it would be nearly impossible to detail all of them in a single blog post. So I'm just trying to list few features that are most relevant to the majority of business. So the first one is data disaster recovery, then elasticity, development tools, cost efficiency, easy access to resources. Okay, so now let's see these one by one. A recent survey from Information Technology showed that 79% of corporations require a minimum of 99% uptime for mission critical hardware, operating systems, and main line of business applications. The survey data also showed that 81% of business estimate the average hourly cost of downtime exceeds $3 lakh. One third of responding companies indicated that just a single hour of downtime could cost anywhere from $1 million to over $5 million. So it's not a wonder that most businesses are making disaster recovery a high priority while looking for easier ways to implement it. With Azure, your business gains a strong disaster recovery solution, one that comes with a more affordable price tag than those associated with traditional computing environments. With Azure, you will get access to multiple data centers for data storage, which allows you to deploy a cloud service to different locations around the world. The Azure Site Recovery helps ensure your critical business applications stay online during an outage or disruption by replicating those workloads from a primary site to a secondary location. The Azure Traffic Manager automates network routing to different locations in case of a region specific failure. The three times data replication, which means all the data you store in Azure is copied three times, either to a single or a secondary data center. Then we see elasticity. Do we run an e-commerce website that handles large workloads during busy holidays? Or maybe you operate an accounting firm that experiences peak usage in the first few months of the year. Whatever the case, the additional capacity to support high volume workloads must be built into the system no matter what. It is especially true for an on-premise data center that requires buying a lot of additional hardware and maintaining it year round. With the cloud, you can virtually expand your resource base and quickly decrease it when you are done. Plus, you are only paying for the resources you need and not wasting money when they're not being used. Azure has tools built in that monitor and analyze your utilization of cloud resources, which can help you determine benefits from decreasing or adjusting your computing environment. And if a change is warranted, you can make it in seconds. Then we'll talk about development tools. Traditionally, on-premise computing environments don't have a lot of room for development and testing. That often means companies have to purchase new hardware software for development purpose or push off development tasks until they have sufficient room in the system. The result is decreased productivity, few innovations, and higher costs. Azure, on the other hand, is the perfect place for development. Since you're only paying for the resources you need, developers can easily build out all possible scenarios and run through testing without having to purchase new equipment. On top of that, developers gain immediate access to a variety of templates, services, and solutions, helping reduce the time it takes to bring new innovations to market. So the Azure DevOps features include Microsoft's Visual Studio Team Services, which is a set of services that support collaboration among development teams. This feature allows teams to organize work items and manage source code, among other things. Easy integration of other traditional DevOps tools, including Jenkins, Chef, Terraform, and Ansible. Azure Dev Test Labs, which is a service that helps developers and QA teams to quickly create cost efficient test environments in Azure. Then we have cost efficiency. One of the greatest benefits of Azure is its cost efficiency. There are three primary reasons Azure is so practical when it comes to cost. The first one is you don't have to make the large initial investments associated with building an on premise or remote data center. Cloud computing also eliminates the need to buy additional software for development or increased workloads down the road. You don't need to purchase replacement hardware. You will avoid the costs associated with service calls and warranty renewals. You don't have to pay for any resources other than those you need, as Azure bills per second used, rounded down to the last minute. These Microsoft Azure features are essential to gain maximum cost savings. The first is Azure Cost Management. It is a SaaS solution designed specifically for organizations employing a multi cloud strategy. It provides the ability to monitor, allocate, and optimize use of the cloud. Then we have Azure Reserved VM instances, which will let you reserve virtual machines on a 1 or 3 year terms. Purchasing a reservation gives you a discount on running the VMs, which saves you money. It also gives you some degree of price predictability for budgeting purposes. Then we have Azure Pricing Calculator, which is a tool that helps you figure out what you will be paying for Azure setup. You can adjust the variables to see how they would impact the cost from computing and networking to databases, analytics, and developer tools. Compare these numbers to what you are paying for on premises, and you can begin calculating the return on investment. The final point is easy access to resources. Azure's cloud computing service gives IT departments access to a huge number of resources they would not normally have with an on premises data center. For instance, many forward thinking companies are looking to apply machine learning and automation to their data analysis to enable better decision making. Using Azure, you can easily incorporate those capabilities into your systems. No data science expertise or costly resources needed. Or you may want to deploy a Linux server, which in a traditional computing environment requires a series of rules to get up and running. This can take anywhere from several hours to a few days to complete. But with Azure, you can set up your Linux server in less than 5 minutes. To improve your business agility, let's look some features in Azure. The Azure Quick Start templates help you deploy hundreds of Azure resources quickly and consistently every time. Azure Marketplace, the App Store of Azure's data center applications, makes it easy to find, try, and deploy any cloud software you want on the fly. The marketplace is one of the favorite parts of the Azure because it's easy to navigate and has so many software options. Azure Machine Learning Services and Azure AI Platform help you build artificial intelligence applications. Now that you have a better understanding of some of the Microsoft Azure fundamentals and how they can help your business, let's have a look at the three types of service offerings you can get through Azure. So, how companies use Microsoft Azure? So, no two business use Azure in the same way. So, determining how best to use it in your organization depends on the specific needs of your company. Now that you have learned more about the Microsoft Azure basics, you may be wondering, how do I decide what business functions to shift to Azure? When is the right time to make the move? What are my options in terms of Azure services? So Microsoft Azure provides three cloud service models: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So these are the three very common terms in cloud computing.